Sochi Hinojosa and Joe Moreno joins me now. And I should mention on this Veterans Day that Joe is a veteran. And there's a picture of you and your veteran wife in Iraq in 2004. Thank you to both of you for your service.
Thanks, Jake. And my wife actually is the true hero. I was trying cases back in Kuwait most of the time. She was driving trucks in Iraq. So she's the real American hero here.
Well, salute to both of you, and thank you so much for what you've done for us. Let's turn to a less pleasant conversation, which is that President Trump does not seem to accept the reality that a lot of grocery prices are still going up, to the point that even Fox people are now pushing back on him.
Well, good on Fox,
yeah,
right? I mean,
sure.
I think that once in a while it's good to have, be on enemy territory and actually being called out. That's great. Look, he's a politician. He's not going to admit anything that's, all of us might actually feel. But if I had to say, if there's one thing that Americans will punish an incumbent on, it's prices. It's inflation. We had 20 years where we got away with no inflation. Now we have it. People feel it. They punished Biden or Harris over it, and they're going to punish Trump over it if, in fact, things aren't better, starting with the midterms next year.
And one of the things that's interesting is how much President Trump sounds like Joe Biden on this. And I know that a lot of people from the Obama White House looked at how the Biden people handled the cost of living issue, which was, it's kind of crazy to think about it now, but in the summer of 2023, he did a Bidenomics tour, and he stopped doing the monthly press conferences on the jobs reports and the price reports and such. And the Biden people were like, no. When we ran for re-election in 2012, we said there's still work to be done. There's still work to be done. We're going in the right direction. There's still work to be done. Why wouldn't President Trump just take that very basic, obvious message?
Well, there are two things that are happening with Trump. Trump does this thing where he says a lie or something that's not accurate so many times, hoping that everybody will believe it. But now the network that most favors him is actually calling him out, which I find interesting. At the same time, he understands that price is an issue because he's going up and he is true socialing the fact that he wants to give people $2,000 in revenue from the tariffs, right, which is not necessarily possible. But at the same time, he gets that the American people need some sort of relief. And I think he is trying to figure out, how do I do this with my agenda? He knows it is not popular. So I think there are two things happening with Trump. He understands the politics of the midterm elections and what's coming, and it's all going to be about prices. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he feels like if he repeats it, over and over and over, that someone will believe him that, the economy is doing well.
And as you noted, it's not Trump who, as far as I know, is never going to run for anything ever again. It's lawmakers in 2026 who are going to face the wrath of this. Take a listen to this. This is Congresswoman Meeks of Iowa facing some angry constituents. Liar, liar, pants on fire was being said to Congresswoman Miller Meeks. People started to walk out. How concerned are you as a Republican about how this is going to be used, these prices, how Republicans are going to be held responsible for them?
Well, of course they will. First of all, putting aside the possibility that those were trolls and that was a setup, but let's say those were good faith constituents that were really upset at what they were hearing from their elected official. Of course it is. And I think, to your point, it's much smarter than simply looking taxpayers in the eye and telling them what you see is not what you should believe. Don't believe your eyes. Get that, be honest with them. Say, look, the president can't flip a switch. You can't change things overnight. It's a long battle, but I understand your pain and I'm working on it. I think you get a lot more traction with voters than basically trying to tell them that the prices they're paying are not actually reality.
Some of the prices, not all of them, but some of the prices that they're paying, bananas, coffee,
that's right,
wine, is because of tariffs.
It is because of tariffs. And, Republicans said a few months ago, they warned members, don't go out and do town halls because they're worried about things like this. I remember when I worked on the Hill, the safest thing to do is do a teletown hall because you can somewhat control the questions, right, and you don't necessarily have to face potential protesters or other people who are angry about it. But I do think that members of Congress, while Trump is not going to run, members of Congress need to have sort of a come to Jesus with the White House to be like, what can we pass? They control everything. What can we do in the next year to show people that we are doing something about costs? And your tariff agenda, while this is like Trump's bread and butter and he loves it, he's been obsessed with tariffs, is not working for the American people.
You have this Obamacare subsidies issue that's not going away. Democrats, obviously, in the Senate are going to get a vote on it. They're not going to get it attached to the government spending bill. But this is going to be what Democrats talk about from now until next November. Democratic Senator Patty Murray, she's a member of the Democratic leadership, she did not vote for this compromise. She said Donald Trump sent more money to bail out Argentina than it would have cost to extend the ACA, the Obamacare tax credits, for just 1 year. I don't plan to let anyone forget it. And this is going to be what, I mean, first of all, let me kudos to Murray, just as a politician going after Trump. So many Democrats are attacking each other right now, and I just think, boy, you guys are stupid. But beyond that, this is going to be a big issue.
Of course it is. Look, it affects 44 million people if you, all in. It's 12, 13% of the population. It's a real issue for those taxpayers, absolutely. And it's not going to go away. Now, Democrats shouldn't have held the entire government hostage as a result, but it's not going to go away. They're going to have to deal with it. I wish they had dealt with it in the proper order of things, but, it'll come up in January. It's not going to go away.
Thanks, both of you. Appreciate it, and happy Veterans Day again to you, and especially your wife.